David Clark is a low-level marijuana dealer living in Denver. He meets up with Rick, an old schoolmate. David tells him that he is still single and gives Rick some weed. Rick envies David for not having a wife, kids, responsibilities, or anything. Rick leaves.
Great news! We're gonna get high and fuck tonight! Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Put mommy on the phone, okay?
Then we meet Rose, a dancer, who meets another dancer named Kimberly who has a tattoo.
Boner Garage.
David goes to his house and runs into Rose, but they hate each other.
Have fun dying alone, jerk.
Then we meet Kenny, a boy who lives in the same building. He asks David to buy drugs, but David doesn't sell to kids. Kenny sees a girl getting mugged and goes to help her. The robbers beat up Kenny, and David goes to help him. Casey says they were trying to steal her iPhone.
Wait, you have an iPhone? Aren't you homeless?
David asks them to leave, and dumb Kenny tells them that David is a drug dealer. So the robbers try to take David's backpack. So David runs away. Meanwhile, Casey.
Hey, sorry, I dropped my phone.
David jumps down the stairs, and the robbers steal everything from him. The next day, his drug supplier Brad Girdlinger calls him nonstop. As David doesn't answer, they come looking for him and take him to their boss Brad. David thinks they are going to kill him and gets scared. Brad asks David for the money. David tells him he was robbed. To settle the debt, Brad tells David to go to Mexico to find a smidge of weed. He tells him he just has to go with the name Pablo Chacon. David refuses to do it, so Brad forces him. And so it begins. Welcome to Random Recaps. In this video, I am going to recap the movie. David tells Kenny, and Kenny tells him to better use a disguise so he doesn't get caught. A lost tourist family appears, and David gets an idea. Create a fake family.
Thank you, dickheads!
So he goes to ask Rose to go with him to Mexico to traffic the drugs. He offers her $10,000, but Rose doesn't want to. Kenny wants to go with him. And David says not just the two of them, so they go get Casey. She asks for $1,000 and agrees. Meanwhile, the boss asks Rose to sleep with men for money, so Rose quits. She goes to her apartment and finds an eviction notice. Meanwhile, David gives the two of them money to buy clothes.
Kenny, you're fine. You already look like a total dipshit.
And he gets a haircut. At the airport, the three are ready to go to Mexico, and they call themselves the Millers. On the plane, Rose arrives to pose as David's wife. The fake family starts arguing, and they draw the attention of the plane staff, so they pretend to pray.
We thank thee for the blessing of this family vacation.
They arrive at the motorhome and the Millers head towards the border. Casey sees there are fireworks and they ask to go.
Fireworks!
The kids want to go see
Fireworks!
the fireworks.
Fireworks!
David gets mad at them, but they go anyway.
There we go. You fucking happy? Come on.
Then they cross the border and arrive where the drugs are. David goes to introduce himself, and a guy pulls a gun on him. David says he comes in the name of Pablo Chacon, so they let him pass. David realizes that this is not a smidge of weed.
It's a little more than a smidge.
David calls Brad, and he is surprised because David got the weed.
Wait a minute. Why do you sound surprised?
A lady gives Kenny fruit. All the weed is already in the motorhome, and there is a spider in the fruit basket. The Millers are on their way back when they run into a cop. The cop asks for $1,000 to not take them to jail. David thinks it's $1,000. The cop wants David to give him oral sex, so David asks Kenny to do it. David convinces Kenny to do it, but the cop comes to ask for his 1,000 pesos. Realizing that it was pesos and not dollars, David gives them to him.
Can't believe you're gonna suck that guy's dick.
At the border, the Millers meet another family who want to say hello. Don, Edith, and Melissa, and Kenny likes Melissa. David slams on the brakes, and a package of weed falls. Rose hides it, and Edith thinks it's a baby. David says his name is LeBron. The Millers move on, and the police ask him.
You bringing anything back into the United States, sir?
They are sent to park to inspect the vehicle. The cop is going to check the vehicle, but then some illegals come out and let the Millers go. After that, the real Pablo Chacon arrives to get the drugs, and the one-eyed guy tells him that the gringo already came to get the drugs, and since David was not the gringo, Chacon goes with the one-eyed guy to look for David. Due to the additional load of weed in the motorhome, one of the radiator hoses breaks while going up a steep incline. Rose and Casey leave angry. Just then, David arrives with the Fitzgerald family who help them go to the mechanic. David realizes that Don works for the DEA and is now on vacation.
I'm in the DEA.
The Millers are scared to be with the Fitzgeralds. Just then, they arrive at the mechanic, but it's closed. So the Fitzgeralds offer to camp. Edith wants to hold the fake baby, and Rose throws it, and at that moment many cars pass by. Casey tells them that the baby was fake and just a health project. That night they camp and start playing games. Then David plans with Rose to enter Don's tent, take the keys from Don and take the radiator hose. It's Kenny's turn to draw and Rose says,
A penis!
I don't know.
A penis! It's a big dick. Those are balls. It's a big black dick. What?
and the drawing was.
It's a skateboard.
After that, Kenny is with Melissa, but Kenny doesn't kiss her. David goes to talk to Kenny about what happened, and David says that when he got nervous with a girl, he just counted to 3. Later, Rose and David go to the Fitzgeralds' tent to steal the key. Don wakes up and the Fitzgeralds think they want to have sex. Edith wants to touch Rose, so she touches her boobies, and Don David's ear.
I just got ear fucked in a tent.
After that, Casey teaches Kenny how to kiss. Just then, David and Rose arrive and Rose helps him too.
Not bad.
Just then, Melissa arrives and sees them.
Listen, wait.
The next day, they go to the mechanic and the Fitzgeralds leave. David goes to ask the mechanic for the keys. Just then, Brad calls and Pablo Chacon appears. He shows them that he had a tracker. Casey tells them that they are not even a family. And David says that Rose is a stripper. And Rose shows them that she is.
Have some respect. It's your mother.
Rose distracts Pablo with steam. David hits the one-eyed guy with a key, and Kenny runs him over. The Millers escape and wreck Chacon's car. The fruit basket and the spider fall. The spider climbs on Kenny and bites him in the balls.
My fucking balls on my balls on my fucking balls!
And Kenny faints. They take him to a hospital, and David calls Brad. He threatens him and asks for $500,000 to give him the drugs.
Done.
Meanwhile, Casey meets a boy. The doctor tells them that Kenny will be discharged in a few hours. David gets angry and wants to leave Kenny at the hospital. They stay and the boy comes to get Casey, and David and Rose interrogate the boy. After that, Rose and David talk. And Rose tells him that that is not her real name, so she tells him the real one.
Sarah.
And they were going to kiss, and just then Casey arrives and they scold her.
Hey, fine, whatever. Sorry.
Kenny is discharged. David accidentally throws him out as he drives fast. David tells them that he will be paid $500,000. And Sarah gets angry because he will only give her $30,000.
I'm getting 1,000!
You guys are getting paid?
Casey gets angry and leaves. Sarah and Kenny don't want to leave without Casey, and David leaves alone. Just then, Pablo Chacon arrives. Casey leaves with the boy, who tries to kiss Casey. The others find Casey, and Sarah punches the boy. David comes back for the others. When they go to the trailer, they meet Edith and Melissa. Melissa says,
"What happened last night at the campsite was wrong."
And Edith tells her that she touched Rose's breasts. Melissa tells her that Kenny was kissing Rose and Casey.
What?
Kenny says,
We're not a real family.
Just then the one-eyed guy arrives, and Don fights with him. Pablo Chacon arrives with Melissa and shouts at Don with the gun. Chacon wants to kill them all, and David asks him to kill him and not the others. Just then fireworks go off, and David attacks Chacon. The gun falls. Sarah accidentally shoots him. Kenny punches him and kisses Melissa.
Put that tongue back in your mouth, young man.
And David kisses Sarah. Don handcuffs Pablo. David gives the gun to Don. Don plays dumb so the Millers can leave. The next day, David arrives with Brad. And Brad says,
"How about we shake hands and call it even?"
Just then, the DEA arrives and arrests Brad.
You double-crossed me.
Don promises that David and the others are in witness protection for 3 to 6 months until Brad and Chacon's trial. Then the Millers are seen together in a suburban house, with several marijuana plants growing in the yard. And that's how the movie ends. If you got this far, thank you very much. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It would help me a lot. See you next time.